Judy.
Thank you. So I've spent my adult life in this bubble. I've always worked professionally with people who work on peace and justice issues against militarism and against war and for economic justice and against torture. And so one of the tools that's often used to raise awareness about these issues is civil disobedience, what we like to call CD. And for a long time, I actually found this sort of crazy. I never quite got the point of letting yourself get arrested. It never seemed to make a difference. It looked awfully uncomfortable. Something could go wrong. Why would you do it? Here in Washington, often a strategy that people use to raise awareness about an issue is to arrange for a civil disobedience CD action at the White House. It's pretty simple. You just get your group together, you stand still in the postcard space at the gate, the fence in front of the White House at Lafayette Park, and you're arrested for demonstrating without a permit. It's usually a pretty simple operation. It sort of reminds me of the old Warner Brothers cartoon with the sheepdog and the wolf when they clock in the morning, morning Ralph, morning Sam. And then they chase each other around during the cartoon, and then at the end they clock out, evening Ralph, evening Sam. And that's sort of the relationship between the demonstrators and the park police. It's very friendly, it's polite. How many people are coming? Tell your people to have an ID with them, tell them not to wear jewelry, make sure that they have their meds with them, you know. We'll have a couple of wagons, you know, very simple, very easy. Nothing that ever appealed to me. Now, I know a woman, her name is Deanna, and she had been a missionary in Guatemala in the 80s, late 80s. And in 1989, she's from the US, she was kidnapped and had a pretty horrendous experience. She was tortured and went through some pretty god-awful stuff. And she was able to get out of Guatemala and came back to the US, and she went through treatment. And in the 90s, she was raising a lot of questions. She really wanted the US government to answer some questions that she had about her case. She felt that there was information that was available that she wanted to be released to her. And nothing was forthcoming. And she tried very hard to get people to give her the information that she wanted. So a group of her supporters decided to show solidarity for her and to raise awareness of her case. They organized a week of protests at the White House. This was in May of 1996. And as soon as I heard that this was being arranged, I had a conversion experience, a CD conversion, and I said, sign me up, I'm doing it. Because I believed in her and I wanted her to know that I supported her. So I took part in the action that week. I was part of the Thursdays. There was about 30 of us on Thursday. My friend Rose called it the Cadillac of arrests. It was very smooth and easy and went down quite easily. Very often these situations, the charges are dropped. And you don't really have to worry about it for too long because they wipe it off rather than pursue it. What could go wrong? Yeah, so a couple of weeks after the action, the federal marshal showed up at my office and handed me the summons. She had a big smile on her face, handed me the summons for our hearing. So we were being prosecuted for this action, the Thursdays. Just the Thursdays. Everybody else had their charges dropped. So I went to court with my fellow arrestees, and the magistrate said, well, who's pleading guilty? I mean, because we did it. I clearly missed CD 101, where the strategy is you don't plead guilty. I didn't know that. But anyway, I said guilty, and I had to go up to the front, to the bench, and I was with our very lovely pro bono attorney, Denise. And the magistrate did say, he said, why did you do what you did? And I explained about Deanna and why I wanted to support her. And the magistrate said, well, it's very easy. It's $50 fine. Done. And I just instantly thought, I had the split second of, no. And I leaned into the mic and said, I'd really rather not. Denise is flipping out. You can't say that. He can give you a weekend in jail. The magistrate flips out. I have no creativity here. I can't just make something up. What are you talking about? I can't do something else. I'll do community service. And he hemmed and hawed, and I just was overwhelmed by the feeling, I don't want to pay $50 for what Deanna went through. I just can't do it. And Denise is freaking out, and the magistrate's sort of freaking out, and he finally just says, fine, 6 months unsupervised probation. Thank you. Then I was told that I needed to pay a $10 processing fee for having appeared in court. And so I went with my checkbook, and I'm in the courthouse at 500 Indiana Avenue, Judiciary Square, and I walked up to the cashier, and I wrote my check, and I thought about Deanna and everything she went through. I thought about all the people who are in this courtroom right at this courthouse at this moment in front of all these magistrates being handed sentences. And the worst thing that happened to me is I paid a $10 fine.